Chris Rock gon' be the reason we gon' blow. Boom.
Yeah, we're back.
The Wireheadz podcast. And we're here with a great show today. So Trey, tell us what's going on, man.
We're going to be looking at music and how it has been, currently is being, and will be impacted by AI.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty interesting. And we want to look at how that influence of AI on music kind of manifests itself in the hip-hop space. So let's get into it.
Let's get it.
So, right.
Yeah, man, we're talking about AI. This whole talk of AI started maybe like 4 months ago, when I think I was at work and I was trying to figure out a caption for a post, and I just couldn't get it figured out. And I remember seeing on IG earlier that day about this thing, Chat GPT and all this type of thing, and I said, you know what, just let me try it. And I went on and I used Chat for the first time, and to be honest, what that thing spit back out to me and the way in which it did it and the context and how conversational it was, it kind of really threw me. It threw me like, I was like, what? Is this where we are right now?
And this is in the artistic space. No, you're kind of more in advertising or marketing.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say direct in the artistic space, although it is happening there with Adobe Firefly and stuff, where you can just upload a picture to Firefly and tell it what you want it to change to, and it changes the scene,
right?
Which is insane to me. Like, you're just doing voice, like, change this summer sunset to snow, and it does it. It's insane. But no, this was more along like creative copywriting, like just creating a caption, like speaking in conversational tones to connect with people, and Chat did that. And they did it well.
Wow.
Did it really well, too.
Well, I mean, I guess I've had a similar experience. I mean, we're going to be talking about music today, but in my day job space, which is in education, some regional colleagues of mine and I were involved in a kind of online expose of ChatGPT 4. It was given the parameters of creating a graduation speech. We gave it the theme of the speech. How long the speech was supposed to be, who was giving the speech, and the kind of and the characterization of the type of person giving the speech. Was it a stern person versus a more jovial type of person? And then it was asked to include about 3 quotes from well-known Caribbean individuals, and it spat that thing out in seconds.
Insane.
And so what that did for myself and my co-educators is made us kind of look at, wow, what does testing mean anymore? What does teaching mean anymore? And what is it that you teach? What is the content supposed to be if this is what this thing can do?
Yeah, which is insane. And I guess for me as a creative, it worries me, and I know we jump in this as it relates to music, but it worries me because I don't want a machine to create anything for me, even though it might be more efficient at doing so.
You don't want it to be the case.
I don't, because I feel like everything that we consume that is artistic is a form of creative expression, and it has emotions and feelings behind it. Realistically, when you look at a Jackson Pollock painting or a Banksy or whatever, when you look at it and you feel something, you're not just seeing splatters on a canvas, you're feeling what that person felt. There's an emotion behind it, and that emotion cannot be artificially crafted.
Well, it's interesting you should say that, because there's conflict, there's dispute about whether or not. Well, we were talking about this beforehand, and there's dispute about whether or not things are actually being created.
Yes.
Right. So okay. So let's do this in a particular way. Like, I have this perspective that there are kind of 3 phases to this thing. Okay. Right? You want to start off by saying that a lot of what's happening with the AIs is something called machine learning. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep, I definitely do.
The way in which these programs are essentially fed information.
Yeah, I think everyone here should know machine learning. I mean, anyone who has a Spotify, Instagram, a Facebook feed, it's machine learning. All your inputs, your likes, your shares, your comments.
Right.
The algorithm is going to feed back to you, unfortunately, and create a terrible echo chamber. that you have to exist in. But that's what humans like doing, right?
Yeah,
Existing in echo chambers.
One of the reasons why I left Facebook. But and these newer programs like ChatGPT and some other ones that are being produced have an amazing ability to use that information to construct new things.
New to you things.
New to you.
Newish, exactly. Newish things.
So that but it's based upon things that have existed before.
Yes.
So the idea is that you're saying that they're creating new things, but are they really, or are they just using a considerable amount of pieces to put something new together? Which you have to be. Is that a nuance difference?
Saw what you did there, but I guess, and this is where me and SPG slightly disagree, because what is new? If I have like 5 boxes, one is red and like the other 4 are blue, and I line them up. First one red, 4 blue, and I switch it and I put the first 2 blue and the red, and like you're creating something new each time. Like new is something that has not been seen before, and that's something chat can do. That's something AI can do. They can create things. They have enough processing power and enough data inputs that they can provide something new that
and that's
you've never
maybe
heard
where
about.
one of the difficulties is coming with this. So
no, there are many difficulties with this.
well, okay.
That's one of many.
That's one of them.
That's one of many.
Looking at this in 3 phases, I kind of think of it as like this. There's a music production phase.
Yeah.
There's the lyrics creation phase.
Okay.
And then there's the vocal or audio deepfakes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah?
Yes, I would agree with you. So you say music, the lyrics, and then the audio deepfakes. Okay, good. Yeah.
So okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So I mean, you say you got a surprise for me.
Yes, I do.
All right, so you insert that there, so when you feel it is topical, it is correct. So my perspective is, okay, so I saw some stuff. I want to go back to like around 2010 or so. This guy called Ed Newton Rex, he would have been the AI programmer that came up with a program called Juke Deck that was capable, and is capable of producing music. Just producing music tracks.
Right.
You can, and it makes it extremely easy to do so. OpenAI is the company related to this, and it's all about exposing any average person to the ability to produce music. And his perspective was, this is a brilliant thing because it opens the possibility for persons with real talent who would not have had access to a producer to get music to put their stuff onto.
Correct. Yeah.
And you can do all kinds of things.
Essentially democratizing.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
How long the song is, tempo, types of music, and it spits the stuff out.
Yeah. Which in theory I think is a great idea. I think it's a great idea in theory. But I don't know. I feel as if people have dedicated so much time and years in their life to creating this understanding fundamentals of music, and and then you just like for $29.99, shit, Metro Boomin. Like I just
well, that's
something
the thing.
about that.
Is it really even that good? Because the thing is about it,
it's better. It's better than Metro.
Is it?
Of course it is.
Because
it's using Metro as an input.
Right, because the machine learned from Metro.
Exactly.
But did it really? Because you see, here's the thing that about it. So eventually, his company was bought by TikTok's parent company in 2019.
Of course it was.
What are they called?
Bit dance, Bite dance. Yeah.
And
you saw that stuff, right? You saw the US is like going hard, just want to get rid of them.
Yeah. See, they had the CEO of TikTok.
Doing like a deposition or something like that. You watched it?
I didn't. I saw some snippets.
It was hilarious.
Really?
Yeah, just like old white people who don't know anything about technology, like grilling this Chinese American guy about technology. and oh, it was so funny.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean,
It's really
I can only
hilarious.
take so much American news at a time, so I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But so I've said that, and so that's an example of the way in which music can be produced. And so of course, Juke Deck was one of the 1st, but there are other programs that do it. And now being able to produce songs is a part of TikTok infrastructure because they bought it. It's part of the program. You can make songs. You put the stuff in it does it.
You think TikTok is gonna stop at making songs?
We ain't getting into what TikTok wants to do. I mean, I didn't think about it one right here.
I think that's the tip of the iceberg.
Well, yeah, sure.
For sure.
So, but my thing is, he was interviewed and he was asked, like, what about concerns about how this, like, is like, what's the parity with a human person? Wow, did I just say a human person? Redundancy, right? Persons, individuals making music, and his perspective was that this would never replace it. That, as far as he's concerned,
Right. Okay.
and
Let's hear it.
I raised my eyebrow
Right. Okay.
because
I raise your eyebrow and my eyebrow.
my man, right?
What did he say?
Because he was saying that he told an interesting story at first about the fact that when he was first building this stuff, he had told a family member, and the family member said to him, "I hope you don't succeed." And he was like, "Wow, really?" And she's like, "Yeah, because I don't want to listen to anything that was made by a machine. I want to listen to music because I want to know that a human put their spirit and soul and emotion into what they produced."
Yeah.
So his perspective is that it could never replace that. That yes, the program can produce songs, but it could never compare to music composed by humans, as well as the fact that people want to hear music composed by humans. So it's one thing to have. So
I don't think so though.
well, this is why I raised eyebrows
I don't think so, though.
because he's saying, okay, so people are making these songs to maybe be an intro for a podcast or a little piece for a YouTube video, right?
Right,
but when
right,
it comes to a particular song, people want to know that Hans Zimmer composed that piece that you heard for that particular film. And so he says that as far as he's concerned, it will never get rid of the want for people to hear from people.
You know something? Ed, what's his name? Ed
Newton Rex.
Ed Newton Rex. He's still alive? He's still with us or no?
Yeah. Currently he stayed on at TikTok for a while, for about 2 years, heading up their whole integration of that.
Right.
And now I think he's VP of I think the company that does the AI art.
Lensa?
Was one of them.
Lensa?
Was it Diffuse? Something Diffuse?
I think that I promise guys, we're gonna bring this like really like back to music and hip hop. But I think that I don't think that Ed knows what he's talking about.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I think that more and more humans trust technology over other humans. I think that if you look at what's happening in the tech space, look at how, for instance, like when you travel now, you don't go into, when you check in, you're not checking in with an agent anymore. You're checking in with a kiosk. Kiosk is scanning your face, doing stuff like. I think that we've been primed. We're being primed to accept that that machines are better, programs are better, programs are dependable, they do not break. And I think that we just want to be fed what we like. And if a machine is gonna do that better than a human and more consistently, and maybe in our little perverse kind of quirky type nuanced way that we like, I mean, like if I could put into a machine, yeah, like create Drake Thank Me Later, or like Lupe Fiasco, the cool. If I could create my own brand of Lupe Fiasco album through an app, of course I would.
But
of course I would.
why would you do that?
Because I like what I like. And people like what they like. That's why.
But it isn't real.
It's the same reason why you're happy that machine learning is gonna feed you the ads that you like. Whether it's like whatever magic cards or like whatever me motorcycle parts. Like you like, that's what you like. And I do think that people just like that. So, for instance, my surprise for you today.
I'm glad you used the word surprise. I'm gonna get him.
My surprise for you today is that, and I'm gonna play it for everyone here because I don't think we'll be demonetized because the labels don't want it on YouTube anyway. But my surprise is that there is this, I guess you can call him a developer, coder, that created a song. The song is called Heart on My Sleeve. And it's Drake featuring
The
Weeknd on a Metro Boomin produced track.
And it's all AI.
And neither of these three men know that this song exists. Neither of these three men created this song. This guy just created this song from scratch using AI technology and deepfake technology.
So remember
And
I was
shall
talking
play.
about.
I shall play it for you.
You remember I was talking
Because you're
about
nice people.
just before you start playing.
Yes.
So what Trey apparently is going to show me now is a combination of the three things, because I was talking about a juke deck and creating music, but we have AI that can learn, you can get it to machine learn all of the lyrics of Lupe Fiasco, and then ask it to write a song about, I don't know, building homes in a Caribbean country, sung by Lupe Fiasco, and it will use his things, and so the AIs can make lyrics.
But that's what ChatGPT can do. And did. In your case.
In my
That's
case.
exactly what it
and
did.
then the third part of it is that, so you're putting, yes, you can make music, and yes, you can make lyrics.
Okay.
But who's singing or rapping or chanting those lyrics? But it can do that as well, because it can learn the vocal, what's the word?
I don't know.
Trademark, whatever. the vocalization of an artist.
Yeah.
And create sounds of that artist rapping or singing those lyrics.
Those lyrics that you told it to say.
Yeah. So it's
or
the
that it has
complete
created
thing.
on its
So
own.
it's the complete thing.
Yeah, it's a complete thing.
So play some.
And I blame Kendrick Lamar.
I came in with my ex like Selena, the flex, bumping Justin Bieber, the fever ain't left, she know what she need, or she blessed, giving my best, yeah, I got my heart on my sleeve with a knife in my back, what's with that, 21, I love him, then my brother, that's my stat, Metro made the beat, so you know that it's gon' slap, yeah, it's gon' slap, time, run it back. Talking to a diva, yeah, she on my nerves. She think that I need her, kick her to the curb. All I know is you could've had the world, yeah, you were my world.
Got these pearls on my neck, got these girls on my check, like Selena, baby, on my cheating, baby, yeah. She taking my Lambo for a drive, it's on my fancy door.
Oh my God.
Literally, that's the best. Oh my God. And you saw how I behave, right? I could give two shits if that was actually Drake and The Weeknd.
Really?
I could give two shits.
But that's because
That song is hard, big man.
but yeah, the song sound real good.
Real freaking good.
But my thing is, really,
I could
Jermaine
get two
Grant,
shits.
who is about
Two shits I can give. Telling you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. People like what they like. They're still gonna bump it. Cause you know what? They love Drake. And that sounds like Drake.
like, okay, we've had so many conversations about how much how important it is for the two of us to have authentic artistry. So when you said that you don't give two shits, you meant the General Public or you meant Tremaine Grant?
No, I don't give two shits. I don't care. Because that music there,
Oh, you don't care about that type of music?
that music there is throwaway music.
Well,
And the majority of people who listen to music are gonna fuck with that. Sorry. They're gonna mess with that.
I mean, no, you can use that language. I'm just worried that, you're saying that, people, are into throwaway music. You gotta be careful what you say about people.
The average person is gonna love that and is gonna think
They are.
that's fire. They probably will not.
Because we think it's fire.
We think that song is fire. No doubt. Like that's like blazing up.
Flames!
That is blazing up right now. And Universal Music Group. So let's bring it back.
Right.
Universal Music Group. They have come out and they have said to the streaming platforms, under no circumstances is this music ever to like reach the streaming platform. So they now are on this kind of push to stamp this out.
Well, that brings me to another thing. So one of the concerns with all of this is that it has to machine learn from copywritten material.
Of course, yeah.
But the copyright only governs our covers the music and lyrics. It doesn't cover the person's voice. Voices aren't copywritten. So what has happened is that it's a new legal space to be in terms of copyright infringement, because there aren't copyrights over the sound of a person, but there are copyrights over the music, the lyrics, and the combination of those things to produce a particular song.
Right. Okay.
So what Universal Music Group is doing is saying, well, since we currently don't have that space to exercise the rights for the music with persons using previously recorded voice of the artist so that they can then create this deep fake audio, they're going to prevent the AIs from having access to the source material,
yeah,
so that they can't even produce it.
Yeah, but you want to know something? They have access to enough.
They do.
They don't
it's too late.
need Drake's new single to do this.
It's too late.
It's done.
It's too late.
It's actually done, which is wild, right?
It's out the gate already.
So we're Eddie McBoy. I appreciate the kind of small scale that he was thinking. I can democratize this thing. I can make it easier for people from marginalized
you really think that he believes what he
communities.
said?
No, he's talking shit. But I'll go with it. And he's thinking that. But for me, I see it as quite dangerous. I know there are two sides to it, and people see it as creating opportunities for like new genres and more creativity, and that people who are actually producers, artists can actually harness the technology to do that. But I do think that is gonna be more perverted than it is gonna be used in a constructive way because of the way the music industry is. So I mean, look at what they did. I don't know if you know about the AI. They created the AI rapper. He was on...
Right, so I want to talk about FN Meka.
FN Meka. They created this AI rapper.
But go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, they created this AI rapper. I mean, I know he didn't last too long because his source material was black culture and he was a white rapper with dreads or some crap like that.
No, the actual cyborg. He's a black cyborg.
He's half black. He's a black cyborg.
He's a black cyborg. I mean, he's a brown skinned fella. So his AI grandmother was probably raped by a slave master.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Facts. But he's a mid brown kind of black guy with green dreads, right?
Right.
And a cyborg mandible kind of thing on here.
Right.
Straight out of Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever the devil that game was that didn't launch well.
Yes.
But it's interesting that you mentioned him because all of it was a ruse. All of it was nonsense.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, after
his sounds weren't generated by AI?
No. And that
interesting.
Yes, brings an even another side. Look how I got my hand twist to what was happening because Capitol Records signed him.
Yes, correct. It was Capitol.
I can't remember the name of the company that made him in the first place. But Capitol Records signed him and like about 10 days later dropped him.
It was 10? I think it was less than 10. No, I think it was less than 10.
It was like
because I remember he came on Instagram and then his followers shot up, and then immediately he released a song. Then this whole thing about
he released a song. So what you doing? Release a song.
Well, he's a
avatar thing,
right? Correct,
okay.
Right? Come on, man.
But you see,
and then he put out that song. The lyrics were kind of thing, and then is it that Capitol just dropped him because of that?
No, what happened is that a considerable number of prominent black voices began to criticize what seemed to be a distilling or concentration of negative black stereotypes into one thing.
But you know that makes it worse then? That it was an actual person behind that. Because I thought it was just pulling from from source material.
Exactly. That's how bad it was, because the two persons who created
Two white guys, right?
None of the two persons that created FN Meka
Right.
were black.
Right, correct.
So there was concern about cultural appropriation.
Yes, facts,
about
yeah.
then it was a Caucasian guy and an Asian guy
Mm-hmm.
who made him, and about the concerns about pulling from the worst of black culture.
Right.
And I mean, that's a strange thing to be in, because you're talking about the worst, and I need to apologize for that. Don't come for me, because is it so much the worst, or is it that just they were looking for particular sensational or problematic things that are just part of the life of your people in your community, and distill concentrating it into this one character.
I think you kind of overthinking it. I think these guys just looked at trending artists, hip hop artists, and they mimicked that behavior. So they're gonna be talking about, unfortunately, the majority of it is gonna be talking about drugs, guns, lean, messing around with women, all kind of thing. I got this one, that one, and back of my back.
And I think
so they took all of that, right?
They took all of that. And one of the things that was disgusting about it is that like when he put up this scene of him being brutalized by the police and talking about how F the police and all that, and it's like, but none of it's real. And what are you doing when none of that is real? Because all you're doing is exacerbating the real world problems and conflicts within a society through this thing. No, I mean,
but you talking about exacerbating, but I don't think you giving these fellas too much.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you giving them, like, you saying like they're actually using their brains. No, they're not. They're just like,
but I wasn't saying that.
literally looking.
But no, don't get me wrong. I wasn't saying that they intended it, but
Right.
that's what was happening as a result.
Okay.
But then the worst part of it, just the end of this nonsense about FN Meka.
It's not nonsense though. It isn't really. Well, it's nonsense now that I know it wasn't an AI.
The character was so upsetting to me.
I
Is
thought it
because
was an AI.
the guy that came, because it came out that there was this black rapper, Hype the Machine, or I can't remember his name.
Another avatar?
No, there was a rapper
actual-
who was voicing Meka.
Oh,
So his voice was not
It wasn't
an
artificially.
AI voice.
Oh,
It was a person, right, who was voicing him, and then that person revealed that he had even written the lyrics. So then when so one of the two guys, I think it was the Asian guy, left the company, and then revealed that that was just he was just capping so that you can send up the
Of course he was.
send out the numbers. So so there's a big concern about whether or not AI was even used, and that was the circumstance where, because of the understanding that AI is the thing that people are excited about, these guys
They rode that
they
wave.
rode that wave.
Interesting. Wow. All right, we back. Let's get back on track. We better dumb this me,
But I
man.
mean, so so my question is,
That's
do
my
you-
thoughts. How do you feel about that? That bothers you? That's not Weeknd and Drake?
Yes.
It does. Why? You're not sure yet?
No, I've thought about it.
Okay, why? Why does that? Why does it bother you that that's not Weeknd and Drake?
I'm a hip hop head.
Okay.
I know I live in Barbados. I know that we have soccer here. Sorry. I'm a hip hop head.
Yeah, we're hip hop heads.
And one of the central precepts of hip hop
It's authenticity.
is authenticity. People don't go about talking about how, I'm a real one. Like that's
Careful where you're going with this, huh? Because think about what you're saying right now in the modern
modern space
landscape of hip hop.
You come at me after I finish.
No, I ain't coming at you. I'm just saying that you talk about authenticity.
I mean, I don't mind. I give permission.
So
man.
you mean you want to hear an authentic voice be inauthentic? That's what you're trying to say. Or what you're saying is that you want to hear a real person saying things that really happened. You understand the nuance?
You use that word again. The new and the aunts.
And the new and the aunts.
Listen to me. What I'm saying is that forever in hip hop, we talk about like when rappers talked about how they were throwing lyrical darts. When Wu-Tang talked about throwing lyrical darts, they meant actually they analogized their pen as a sharp-edged tool that they used to impale less able rappers.
Okay.
It was about the might of the pen, and your pen was driven by your brain. And so I always found it very interesting, by the way, that some of the toughest guys that had backgrounds within a difficult urban environment, a difficult background in terms of the kind of society,
Or the most poetic.
were some of the most poetic and took great pride in their lyrical ability. So it's this kind of interesting comparison between the brawn of what they had to deal with within their society and what they're dealing with within their social context, and the brain that they had to write about it in a particular way.
Right.
It's always been a very interesting dichotomy to me. So that's always been a big deal. So if in this space that's been so important, and we've had all of the jokes, like, you know, why is it a big deal? Like, it's not a big deal in other art forms. Nobody is wondering whether or not Ariana Grande wrote her last few songs. Who cares?
Right.
But we certainly care about it in hip hop. And
Right.
there've been all of the sensational stories about the guy writing for Drake, and whether or not Lil Wayne is really getting his writing his own raps. And
I know that's a narrative, but did it really even matter in the end? It didn't affect Drake in the end.
it didn't affect Drake
It
because
gave his competitors ammunition to throw some loose shots, but really and truly it didn't impact him.
I guess so. On
If
that,
you get me,
you are correct.
people still paying $500,000
back
for a show.
And maybe we're coming back to the fact that maybe I need to accept that, or we need to reiterate that most music listeners are just listening to things on the surface.
Yeah.
And nobody really cares. It's only the supposed real hip hop heads like Robin Douglas.
But look, SPG, people don't even like listening to albums anymore. People just listen to one-off singles.
You talking about what Russ was talking about the other day,
Yeah,
right?
like, you know, that's my guy.
Well, I mean,
That's my guy. He's a short guy. He's a pompous and arrogant guy, but still my guy.
He's with some long wavy hair,
He
but I
got
like
some
him too.
long Hispanic kind of wave here, but that's my guy.
You waiting for Chomp Tree?
I wait for Chomp Tree, and it can be funded by the bank too, because you get bad interest rate, and if you get it enabled, I get advance.
Right, but I mean,
That's my guy.
For me, it's a big deal, but people, I guess you're right. I have to accept that the record sales don't show that it had any impact. Nobody cares that Nicki Minaj might not be rapping her own thing.
No one cares about. This is what I'm trying to tell you. People don't care that much about that stuff anymore. I think, however, that if somebody was to hear that Method Man release a track and it was ghostwritten by somebody, that'd be a big deal, because his Meth is like, you know, like this kind of like stalwart in rap, in hip hop, the hip hop world, and the
And he is a lyrical demon.
Right, no, he is. So, but for somebody like Drake, I'll be honest, I don't think that matters. If you hear that P. Diddy, who cares? Like,
Yeah, nobody ain't care that
Nobody
Dre,
ain't
because I mean,
checking.
from what we consider that Dre doesn't really write his rhymes. His rhymes are written for him. And I am going to suggest that if you listen to Dre rapping with an artist, interestingly, the rap always sounds somewhat like the artist that he's rapping.
yes, as almost as if he's had help in writing that rhyme for that particular
Yeah, so
song.
listen
right?
to him on an Eminem track. Listen to him on a Kendrick track.
But I want to ask you a question though. So we're talking about AI. Do you think eventually AI will completely eradicate the need for artists? Because I think that's what it comes down to. Artists and or producers. And I say producers are not musicians. You have some that are both. Obviously, musicians still have a space, because I feel like being a musician, that's like a form of performance art. So that's closer to the organic nature of creating music, right? Like singing and stuff like that. I talk about live performances, right? I still think there's a space for that. People want that and want to engage with that, but like producing music, like if you could tell a program produce something, you know, like Bat Neptunes in 2004 in the style of grinding, AI could do that, and you could put it out, and people will feel the same nostalgic feeling and be like, yo, this is fire, and people will rap and rhyme on top of it, and it'll probably chart. Nobody can be like, oh no, Pharrell didn't produce that. No one's gonna do that, in my opinion, at least. No one's gonna do that.
I guess I'd say that That's a wild place to be in.
I think so.
Because I feel like, one, when you were making a comment earlier, or was it earlier? Yeah, that happened.
That part.
That part. Thanks, schoolboy. Listen, where you were saying that if a person likes a particular thing, what's stopping them from saying, man, I want to hear a Drake track in this particular, I want to hear Drake rapping this.
I'm not gonna wait for Drake to drop it 4 or 5 months from now.
But my thing is,
it's instant gratification. That's the age we living in, bro.
But well, I guess for me, and maybe I don't get it. Maybe I'm too old for this. But I don't get it. But to me, I'm gonna know that isn't what Drake really put out, and that knowledge alone will not make it impressive to me.
All right,
like because remember I said that we were gonna come back to the word surprise,
right?
The God of God MCs. Wow, did you just say that?
The God of God. I'm almost afraid of who you're gonna call.
Yeah, let me pull that one back.
Yeah, and I want to pull something back that I said earlier too. So go ahead.
Okay, so
because I do want Lupe to put authentic music. I wouldn't want to hear AI generated music. I don't know what I was thinking. Sorry, Wasulu.
Don't let Wasulu come
Don't let Wasulu Jacob come for me. He might write a rainbow me. I ain't got a lot of pressure. He might write Super Lupa Lyrical 4 or something like that.
Like Lupe has a course at a particular university. Which university is it?
MIT.
And he talks about what makes great storytelling.
Yes.
What comprises great storytelling.
Yes.
And he talks about how surprise
Yeah.
is used to create some of the best stories. Surprise is a central part of humor.
Yes.
It is something that humans are so intrigued and titillated and engaged.
Consistently titillated by surprise, for sure.
But yeah, like once you didn't expect it.
That's how memes work, huh?
Yeah.
That's how memes and TikToks work.
That's why puns are great.
That's why puns rock. Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, there's nothing quite like a dad joke. But anyway, but what I'm saying is that if that is the case, then it is the surprise. It is the anticipation of not knowing what Drake is gonna do next. I mean, after all, he did a whole dance album last time. What is he gonna do next?
Country's coming next.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
The point is, and so it is that's completely lost. And so what I believe is that I'm going to have to wait and see. I'm going to suggest that there may be an initial honeymoon period of, oh my gosh, I can make my own Drake track. But then, are you really coming back to listen to that again and again when you're the one who made it? Or do you really want to know what Drake is going to do next? Because, that's that artist that you really liked what he did in the past. So I'm going to suggest that it may be a novel thing to be able to produce it. But I feel like humans are just going to forget it after a while. And I mean...
Go on. Yeah, cause I still got have my point to make. So you can make an extra point now? All right, I can jump in.
I done.
What kind of person are you? I think people are broken down into. There are 2 types of people in the world, right?
I feel attacked.
There are people who have no problem wearing fake shit, and there are people who would prefer to pay less money for something that's authentic. You want me to run that back for you?
I don't like to wear fake stuff.
Correct.
I'm not interested in that.
Right. So you would pay less for something that's authentic as opposed to pay that same money for something that is pretending to be something else.
Certainly. I mean, I'm not ridiculous in my acquisition of material things.
Right. Okay.
So if there is a material thing that has a particular cost because it's authentic, then Robin just won't have that thing.
You won't have that thing.
But I certainly am not interested in wearing a fake version of that thing.
Right. You would
certainly
would withhold from attaining that thing until you can afford said authentic
That's how
thing.
I am. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think the majority of humans on this earth are like that?
No, I do not. That's why there's a market for fake stuff.
Exactly. And that's my point. No, I would layer on top of that, as far as it relates to whether you would listen to something that's artificially created or generated around your favorite artist, it's all about how much you care about that artist. So for instance, I don't think, me personally, I'm sorry to come at you, but honestly, you know what? Forget. This is me and Robin podcast. So I say what the hell I want to feel like. I don't think the average person is very tied to their artist and their authenticity. Authenticity. I say that because fans are quick to support their artists when they do fuck shit because they like them. So they come up and they make excuses around them. I've heard all the excuses about every artist known to man because I think people just like what they like and they don't want to have to stop liking what they like.
Well, no, we don't.
They don't want to. They don't want to stop liking it.
You suffer from that? I've had those difficulties.
Yeah, but I'm still. If one of my art, like for instance, Kendrick, love Kendrick, but if Kendrick has Kodak Black on his album and I think Kodak is problematic, then I can be like, yeah, though, I like you and all as an artist, but that's whack.
Well, I mean,
I ain't gonna look at you again.
Well, I mean, I've had arguments with certain persons in the past where I felt like they were just giving that Kendrick fan service.
Shit.
I mean, the Black of the Berry was one hell of a top produced track. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't get with what he was saying in it.
Yeah.
I'm not going back to that.
Yeah, I'm not going back to that.
Right, but,
yeah,
I mean,
we already know.
Right, but you know, it's just like people supporting R. Kelly.
Yeah.
Or
like Tory Lanez. And yeah, we could argue to the coast go home about whether shot or not, but still, Tory Lanez is problematic.
Tory Lanez there's more going on with Tory Lanez and support for him there.
Why you say that?
Oh, there's a lot of patriarchy and misogyny going on in that.
There's only in Tory Lanez?
Well, I mean,
why you suss out Tory Lanez as that? Because and not like a Future or a Drake or
no, I'm just saying that. Yeah, of course, all of them are doing that garbage. But I mean, in the Tory Lanez situation in particular, it was just another example of a woman saying, "Well, a man has done X,
he's hurt me in this way," and be like, "Nah,
they're immediately discrediting her before there's even a trial."
Agreed.
Right?
And the trial has not happened yet, huh?
The trial ain't happened.
It happened.
There was a trial and they find him guilty.
Oh, he got found guilty.
I don't know if he's been sentenced.
Man, so you sure the trial happened? We should really know this. We should do our research. I'm sorry, we don't really care too much about Tory Lanez.
Nah, we ban off the man, right? But it's you're right. People do it, and I'm saying that like something happened recently where Jonathan Majors, an artist that an actor that I've really been enjoying his work.
It was sexual assault charges, right?
No, I think it was just physical assault.
It was just physical assault. Well, and this is right after Creed had premiered, right? Yes. It was like there was the premiere. He was hugging up and Michael B. And then soon after I saw this thing, I was like,
I know he just finished. He's the big villain of.
He's in another
of the MCU. He's the Phase 5 villain.
Seriously,
you didn't know?
Did not know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you told me you were behind on that.
I am behind.
Yeah, but he's kind of conqueror. Never mind. The point is, right? So you know there was Thanos.
Yes, no, I know.
Jonathan Majors is who's playing the big villain this time.
Wow.
They might get big.
How?
So
why?
He's good. He's a good artist. He's a good actor.
I know he's a good actor. Oh, imagine when we get deep fakes for acting. Ooh, that'll be spicy.
Yes, and what? So you're saying also, what do you name?
For all when the job's deep fakes for teaching.
Stop making me own work. Sorry about that.
Yeah,
former
telling you
person.
Technology is like literally ruining the earth. Sorry.
What I'm saying is that when I saw that, I'll be honest. My shoulders slumped.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, but I really like you.
Yeah.
And now I'm not going to be able to mess with you anymore.
Agreed. Yeah.
And that was frustrating to me because it's like, well, I like the artist, but I have decided that as a principle, I can't do that. I mean, I have since heard that the charges have been dropped by the woman, and I have to go back and read upon it because I think that I had seen somewhere that there had been evidence to indicate that it was all nonsense being said by the woman.
That's see, but then again, that's tough because you can't separate fact from narrative. Like you don't know enough. You're not close enough. You don't have enough
evidence, and so there's all this haze there, and there's so much. There's so much about men in positions of power.
Yeah,
getting away with this kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
And further causing women to not want to talk about assaults that they've gone through because of especially with a person in position of power, because of but you know, right. But yeah, people want to support who they want to support.
And my only point was just that I don't think that the average Drake fan is like, there'll be fans who would rock with Drake if he quote unquote fell off or wasn't like a big deal. There are those fans, like hardcore fans, but I don't think the majority of fans are like that. Whereas I feel like all MF Doom fans rock with MF Doom no matter what. All Lupe Fiasco fans rock with Lou no matter what. Like, you know, like certain fan bases are like, they're true to the people. They invest and they're into the people. So they're not going to consume anything that they don't know for a fact has been produced by them. And I don't think artists such as Drake and The Weeknd fit into that bucket.
Because
I just personally don't think so.
Because they cater to, because they produce pop music.
Yes.
It's pop rap, it's pop R&B, it's pop.
Correct.
So, and
pop. Yeah.
And the reality is that type of music has an extremely widely spread but fickle listenership.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
You know, Google just revealed that they have an AI that can make music from scratch.
Mm-hmm. Of course,
and
they do.
they've decided not to put it out because they have concerns about.
My Google. Not my Google with that. They mean like what? Concerns about selling it to the highest bidder.
Well, I mean, after all, they revealed that they have it, and there were some samples.
So they have it, but only no thinking about the repercussions. Get out of here.
It's all a marketing plug, isn't it?
Nonsense.
And I listened to some samples of the music that it has been able to produce, and they're talking about how, you know, it isn't really that good because it's doing this stuff from scratch apparently.
Right. So,
you know, like sometimes the vocals that it produces are just gibberish and it doesn't actually make sense.
Right.
In terms of what's being said, but it fits the melody of what the piece of music was or is. But again, there's all this concern about copyright. Right, and because the reality is that
how can it be copyright if they're making it from scratch? I don't understand. Where does copyright come in that context?
The thing still had to machine learn. It still had to machine learn to get a base for what music is. Right, and what vocals do, and you know, so it had to learn various patterns of putting music together. Before it was given an instruction to make something. So it's not making lyrics in the style of. Right, it's not deep faking somebody's voice. It's just putting these things together to come up with this.
Interesting. Right. Do you think it's plagiarism, by the way?
Well, it is a form of it because the reality is that it now looks at a new situation for royalties. Because if an AI is machine learning from copywritten material such that it would make something that it could then earn money from, then you need to pay royalties to the persons who produce the information that it machine learned.
I'm not sure. Well, I might be wrong, but I'm not sure that in the music.
You don't agree?
No. I don't disagree. I was just saying I'm not sure if in the music space they've begun to commercialize anything around music. I mean, I know when I did the Lensa app thing, remember the whole avatar thing went around. You upload these 5 photos of yourself. Remember I uploaded it, and so I know I had to pay for that. I did a one-time cost for that, and then that even brought up these issues with Lensa because they were saying that the artist's work in which the AI was taking for source, those people weren't being credited for that. It's
the
just
style wasn't being credited.
The style wasn't being credited.
So it's a whole new world of what it is that you can monetize. Because I mean, yes, it is not this person's work, but is it in the style of the person? And I mean, an artist who does something in the style of another artist is criticized by the original artist.
Depending on the output. And many, because I would say to you that, like, obviously the first time that I drew something, it was a blatant ripoff of Cowboy Bebop. It was me literally looking at a Cowboy Bebop anime and just drawing it.
All right.
Right? And that's how a lot of people learn. A lot of people learn by just mimicking what's out there, and then you do what? You develop your own style. And your style is gonna be a mishmash of different things. You might like the eyes off of Spider-Man comics, and you might like the muscles off of.
So what you're telling me is that humans, machine learning, all about the place.
Of course we
and
are.
producing new things from stuff that isn't new at all. That's what your original point was.
That's what my original point was. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. It all is there. I think what is crazy is that the length of time that it takes for the average artist to do so, and the method in which they have to go through to get there, has now been short-circuited by programs and programming. And that's what makes it scary, because something that might have taken an artist like maybe 9 months to say, all right, I can take this sample, I can take this J Dilla sample, and I can chop it up, and I can flip it, and then I can put some Marvin Gaye lyrics over it. Okay, God, clear that sample, clear that sample, clear that sample. Bram. And people be like, oh my God, it's so great, da 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 da. But he just machine learned, though.
So all right. So let's tie this up.
Oh, we ended with more questions than we started.
Of course, that's the beautiful thing about it.
Man.
Possibly part 1 in a 3-part series.
Yes, part 1. Definitely part 1 in a 3-part series. Yeah.
But so what we're gonna end off with is, we're in a new space altogether.
Yeah.
There is there are new considerations and ways to now have to think about protecting the creative, the property, the intellectual property of artists out there, right? Whose art may be being devoured by a program so that it can spit out supposedly something new.
Yeah.
And if their person is making money from that, what does that mean for the artist whose stuff was machine learned?
Yeah.
So there are the legal ramifications of it.
You should get like double royalties. You should get like real talk. Like you should get like even more than you would if you put out your own. Because if what you're saying is that they're taking what you would have done and spent your time. Think about it as time spent to create. They're short circuiting that, so they're bypassing those months or all that pain and what do we do here? And then they're commercializing it. So you should get even more money than you would have gotten if you went through that process, taking years or months or whatever off of your life to put it out for people to consume. That's my take. I'm not a musician. I'm just a regular artist, designer / creative, and that's my take on it. You should be paid more if you're gonna use my stuff as your source material, and it should be like NFTs, where every time that music goes out and is consumed, you should get like tremendous kickback from that.
And what it would mean is that the AIs would have to indicate what elements of information it had used to produce something, so that then you could directly compensate.
You'd be compensated immediately.
The other part of this is the idea that there are these hip hop purist ideas or authenticity ideas, right?
Yeah.
Of what makes a true artist and whether or not persons are going to be concerned about whether or not things really came from a person.
Right, correct, yeah.
I mean, there are those like Newton Rex who thinks that that'll never go away, and that people want to hear what people have to say, have to sing, have to write, and have to, what sounds they want to make, to encapsulate all of that and to bed that in. But Trezalé is making the point that really, does that really look at the mass consumerism of music and the fact that tracks are listened to and forgotten 2 weeks later?
Instantaneously, bro.
It's an interesting space.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Trezalé, thanks again, man.
My guy, you and Russ, my guys.
Oh, geez. This has been SP Jerry,
and your boy Trezalé,
and this has been the Wireheadz podcast for yet another episode. So until next time, we out.
Peace.